Hey, everybody. This is Phil Patty from American Barbell. Thanks for joining in on American Barbell Unleashed, episode 6. I'm back here today with Sergio Oliva Jr. Almost couldn't get your name out. Anyway, thanks for coming back.
Oh, yeah, this is my new home. I haven't left, actually. I've just been waiting for the next
new
one.
Home. And no, it was great. Since you and I have met each other, it's been a short-lived but great time so far. And you've had a chance to play with the equipment a little bit. Give me some feedback on what you think so far after really training with multiple products.
American Barbell is like different because you have free weights, but then also the machines. It's usually kind of like one or the other is like their specialty. When I walk into this place, if I had to guess which one was like the special, I wouldn't be able to tell you, the machines are that good. And it's funny because that's not what you started doing. So since I've been able to play around in this little toy zone downstairs, it's been really great. Being able to go back and forth with the equipment. For me, because I lift so heavy, it's the only time probably in a long time that I don't worry about I'm breaking something or I'm damaging it or I'm just making a ruckus. I don't know. It's something I shouldn't care about. I mean, if you're trying to deadlift or squat anything over 5 plates, you trying to worry about what noise you're making or anything other than that lift, it's dangerous. Right. But I just can't be a lunk in the gym. It's just something that I need to focus on not caring as much. So here I've been able to not, excuse my language, give a shit. It's been great. It's little things. And it's like one of those things. And that's why, it's great to do these podcasts because we could even have some people on here too that are just getting into the gym. Things that I think are really important to me that a regular person aren't gonna, maybe even notice or really, appreciate is like, on the racks. For me, I'm not a tall person, but in bodybuilding, I'm a tall person. Being 6 foot and being a bodybuilder is like abnormally tall. There's like 3 guys, I think, that are over 6 foot. So on the rack, when I can change my notch by almost half an inch, it's so nice to be able to get something, like if I'm doing deads where I'm stopping on something and then lifting it back up. It's so great to take out my hamstring muscles out of my deadlift because I can get that to the exact measurement for my body. Whereas any other gym, I just kind of have to pick the best, or one's too tall, one's too low. And it's just part of the game. That's how it's been my whole life. And it's really how it's been for everybody who's going to put in that many variable holes and where it's that safe, where this tiny gap between them is also safe, Yeah.
Well, that's it. And it's safety design overall. But listening to people that train, so many companies today, they haven't dealt with people that actually use products, right? And then, of course, as you know, there's so many facets of who's using the product. Is it a physical therapist? Is it a power lifter? Is it a weightlifter? Is it a competitive, bodybuilder that's, going to the moon like you are? What is it? Who's that person? So, yeah, you learn a lot. And but I appreciate the comments, and I'm glad that you've been able to use it, get a feel for it. There's 2 rooms. We have our training center, obviously, for those that are not in tune. We've got a retail storefront that looks like a gym, and then we've got a full-blown training center in the back of our facility that we use for training and education. We bring in groups of trainers, whether it's somebody like the group from Penn State or UNLV, or it's a place to be able to touch and feel all the equipment. So
that's my favorite part, though, that has nothing to do with working out, is the different teams on the plates. I've already been snapping a couple of my buddies that are in the SEC or college fans, kind of talking junk that there's no Gators plates here,
We better get some in there.
Yeah. So that's just like it's obviously you would get that for like, the dorms or, on campus and stuff like that. But even just the Nike ones, like they're really so slick. And exactly, it's one of those things where it's not going to make me gain any more muscle. It's not going to change anything, but it's badass.
Oh, you know what? And for me, the whole reason to do this facility was because the close ratio is so high for me in a sale if I can show someone what I do. And so just recently we had a guy in from Seattle that's doing a, believe it or not, 133,000 square foot pickleball facility on the Jersey Shore.
In Jersey, wow.
Jersey Shore, $900 a month membership and an $8,000 initiation. Ironically, and pickleball clearly is big right now. Ironically, the training floor is only about 8,000 square feet. But when he walked through and saw the stainless steel racks, the urethane products, everything that he could touch and feel, he knew it was a no-brainer for that level of clientele. He wanted it. He knew he needed to have it. And ironically, this guy goes way back to Gold's Corporate. His name's Joel Tallman, I believe is his last name. He's been around forever.
You're so good with names.
Yeah, oh gosh, I'm not. But he goes back to the Ed Connors and Pete, well, it was Pete or Paul Grumkowski, or both.
Yeah,
remember those guys?
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He goes back to those guys way back. And so he's got a lot of my products from the early days. So it was great that he came through and he told me, he said, this facility made all the difference in the world, because you can tell somebody how good your products are, but you got to use them. So that for me is important.
And really for people that have ever owned a gym or even trained in gym where there's just the average person that just doesn't know what they're doing. The other added bonus with the equipment is even the biggest idiot cannot break it. Like it's the longevity in the equipment that's why when I did just go back to Venice, it's so crazy that when I first met you, you were talking about the equipment's in Venice, Gold's Gym, the first or second, I guess, technically Gold's Gym. So when I was just there a couple weeks ago, I was thinking, how did I train here, for majority of the beginning of my career? And I never really realized. And it's like, once you know the logo, it was everywhere in the gym. Even the racks that are under the Mr. Olympia Wall of Fame, is that whole time your racks. It's so cool. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And the point I'm getting at is, one, that place is open doors. There's no air conditioning. It's not insulated. It's pretty much an indoor gym for decades. Oh, yeah. And I would say the biggest idiots are at that gym. The people that are just there to set up their tripod, especially now, because it's not Gold's Gym anymore. And the equipment is still the same. The dumbbells are not. The one thing that I really hate, and sorry to cut you off, with dumbbells, just a small little thing, is when a piece of them is missing, and it's jumped off. Now, is that going to make one of my arms or one of my chest grow more than the other? Probably not. It's one of those things where it just irks me, or even just putting it on my knee and I have to just kind of adjust it a little bit because it's just broken, and that's from people just dropping them. So how many times do you think people have dropped those dumbbells in the Gold's Gym Venice, and for them to look like they're brand new is just something that it's kind of like one of those where you can talk about the equipment all you want, but like you're saying, you could literally go to one of the oldest gyms and point at something and it looks the way it does, almost speaks for itself.
Oh, yeah. Well, the early brand, the GP brand that's been in there, those dumbbells have been in since 1998. The Olympic bars that are all over that second central floor, 1998. And then around 2014, I went in and put some American Barbell product because the GP brand was a company that I owned. It was virtually just a trade name that I started to do work for Cybex and Iron Grip and some other companies behind the scenes. So yeah, that product's been in there forever, and I love it. You can search on YouTube any video that you see, and Gold's Gym Venice has got an American barbell or a GP dumbbell in somebody's face. So I tell people that's the proving ground. Talk about abuse. So when you talk about material coming off, that's the challenge. And that's the stuff that's taken years and years and years to figure out how to make a dumbbell that does not come apart, or God forbid, a bar that snaps in half. So you made a comment that it's not the same gym. They haven't changed the name, obviously, correct? Or,
no, I meant like...
you meant it's not the same gym, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. That's why, some of the people I know... You mentioned that was the second. What was the first Gold's Gym? Do you remember?
Well, it was just Joe Gold had the gym before, which was World Gym. I was saying that was the first gym in Venice. Okay. And then that Gold's Gym Venice opened up. But you remember the old...
Of course. And then World came after Joe sold.
Yeah, sold, right.
After that whole... Yeah, no, after Joe sold is when it became World's. I remember that. And he started it with Arnold, Mike Uritz, and Dr. John Gergin.
Yeah, right. Right? See, for someone who has a hard time remembering names, you're doing just well.
I remember the trail on that for sure. It was Joe Gold was an interesting guy. And a good friend of mine, I don't know if you ever knew Jerry McCall. Jerry McCall owned all the gold gyms in the San Jose area. He had 4 or 5. Good friend of mine, big equipment fan. And he was in the early days, in the very beginning when those guys started the very first golds.
Yeah, and those equipment were just, they were almost just like the plates slabbed on. It looked pretty cool. I mean, those are my favorite plates. Even when they do comic books, it has where they're, getting smaller on the dumbbells, but they don't last. That's the problem.
The old metal plates. That's what I tell people. That's what got me involved in the dumbbell side of the industry, was I wanted to attack why dumbbells come loose. And all those, I probably told you before, you can see Ronnie Coleman using those 200s. I built those. Those are those individual plates, the ones he's throwing down and using. And that was a challenge with all those individual plates at the time. Now we transitioned into solid heads, and there's challenges. Those are extra podcasts, right? Ones we got to do on and I'm looking forward to those where we could talk about the evolution of the dumbbell.
Yeah, I'd love to see them being made too, because I think I have no idea when I try and really think about it. Because, right, for it to be longer, that means that the handle then also has to change, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, it all depends how you're making the dumbbell. And we won't go into too technically deep, but if you're welding the handle to the inside of a chunk of steel, then that handle doesn't. But if you're putting it through a bunch of plates, or depending on what your design is, the handle grows. And, it's a whole nother conversation about the strength of the material, how you put it together. And I'm a liability freak. I'm very, very nervous of liability, safety and liability. So, no, it's great to hear. And that you like everything so far. So good. You and I have some great plans to develop some products going forward, just by way of, evolution, seeing things I'm working on. And I was going to use that example of that leg press. Brittany Diamond, who I interviewed on the last podcast, mentioned how much she liked that leg press and the adjustable foot plate.
For sure.
And I was going to cancel that feature. And everybody so far liked it.
And you know why she says that?
Why?
Because she's taller. That's the only person that affects, is when the hinge from your hip to your ankle is a lot longer than the majority of people. So all the majority of, especially for her and me, are shorter people in our classes, and 5'8" area. That range of motion is so much smaller. So the foot placement, you can almost just even change where you put your foot a little bit. But for us, you can only go up so high before you're just using hamstrings. Right. So being able to have that, and really too, it's kind of like if you really do it on a drastic level where you slant it all the way back, it's almost one of those completely straight up presses. Right. If you really get under there and then raise the seat up. So then it's kind of 2 presses in one, that's a really great machine for glutes and hams.
Yeah, the feedback on it's been great. And then, of course, you and I sat through and I listened to your critiques. It were minor things like handle position, very valid. And those were prototypes, so they weren't out in the public domain, if you will. And you had a good catch about a handle where you could exit and you could trip. It was possible that somebody could trip and fall into another machine. So for me, that was a race to fix that. And just it's the details, but that's where I'm at. I'm on the never-ending pursuit for perfection. And the only way you can get that way is to listen to people that actually use the product.
And I was going to say the best people are the people that are OCD, really, what it comes down to. And exactly the little changes I made, it would be only affecting someone who is just like, this can get, a little annoying over time, where it's a great machine. Right now, how it is. Yeah. But it comes down to really you being able to take those kind of tips, and you're excited as well. It's not even it's not even criticism. It's almost like being able to create something together. And I'm sure that's how she felt as well. But yeah, I love that. I was able to kind of change that a little bit. I'm excited to try that out.
We're going to do a lot of that because, again, that's what I love. And different opinions, like you talk about. There's different people that have different requirements when they're training, of course, right? But for me, going back to the, late 70s, am I that old really? Going back to the late 70s of when I first started building equipment, my wife is not very tall. She's 5 foot tall. And one of my main welding fabricator guys was 6'4". And so everything I built, I had to make sure that it hit both of them. They could both use it. Once you start getting around 6'6", 6'8". It's an entirely different machine. And I'm not a kinesiologist by any means, but I understand biomechanics. And one of the first things I learned early on was looking at some body charts of how myself versus a person 6'2", the distances between joints and things were not that far off. It was surprising to me until you get the gargantuan, guy that's 7 foot tall, 7'2". It's a different animal at that point. But no, that's I'm looking forward to that because we have so many things coming down the pipeline, a full blown line of new plate loaded things and a lot of unique pieces. People are going after these new standing hip flexors. The machine I was asking you about, some people call it a frog kick. In your mind, what is that exercise? And it's funny because I help the people put it together. But again, I'm not a trainer. I'm a builder. And I brought it in and I let people look at it and the feedback was great. What is the concept behind that machine primarily? Is it a hamstring machine?
No, it's glutes for sure. I mean, obviously, for people too that are watching the podcast and trying to learn even about working out, where you put your foot placement also changes it. So the machine can even be set up for a glute, but because you put it so far away from your heels on your toes, it's going to change the toll onto more quad or even like a lower part on your hamstring. So, but that one, if you know what you're doing, right, you're kicking up with your heels, with your toes up, and that's also going to even get the upper part of the glute. And that's the really hard part. So when you do lunges and stuff like that, squats, it's going to hit the lower part of the glute. That glute ham tie-in. So this kind of hits a little bit higher up because you're able to kind of like contort your lower back to round it a little bit and then come back up and kick both legs up. I'm sure you could do it one leg at a time, but being able to do two is very rare because all that weight on the pad, exactly, the hand placement of where you position yourself, the whole leveling of that has made it where even people that have made that machine, you end up just doing one leg or just people don't use it in the gym at all. And exactly, my wife, Olivia, she loved that one. And she's like the biggest critique on glute exercises. She's...
I was intrigued. I mean, that people bring me products all the time to look at, and a few of the new unique ones, like that one in particular, or things like a standing hip flexor is new, or the standing abductors, very popular right now. Those have been hits, the belt squat that we just introduced. That piece in particular that we're talking frog kick or otherwise what we end up naming, some pretty high-level engineering people brought that to me to review. And what happens in those cases when I look at products that other people have made, if I think it's viable, then I run it by people like your wife, Olivia, or you, or, people in general that are good trainers. If they like it, then I feed into it. And then I make sure it's safe enough to put my name on it while I manufacture it for them or for myself. But I found it interesting because I didn't put a lot of thought into it until your wife got on it. She loved it. And then she opened my eyes to the fact that people do it on a Smith machine.
Right, and that's what I was going to say. It's very dangerous.
Very dangerous. Mm-hmm. I want nothing to do with that.
It's usually it has to be a two-person thing because you have to be able to unlock the Smith machine, the hook, and so you usually have someone do that for you because otherwise you can't really do it. So most women just kind of like let the weight all the way down and then they just slide out of it, which is also very dangerous. So I think this is going to be very kind of cutting edge to be able to lock and unlock something and then have the exact same setup as you putting a bench under a Smith machine. It's really good.
No, I thought it was great. I think that I was very encouraged. You like it when you can tell there's such a new era of training. It's changed so much. And
better and worse.
Oh, well, of course, there's plenty of people that should not train anybody. And the few that we run into that are good, you just got to hang on to them. But I wanted to ask you too, I know that you're on this road to winning Mr. Olympia.
Well, it's a road to qualify for the Olympia first. Yeah, we got a pit stop first.
Where are you? How are things going right now?
So we started prep and the show is in September in Italy. So it's going to be the second to last show actually to qualify. I was hoping to have qualified at that FIBO show in Germany in April and then take the rest of the year off that I can get ready for Olympia, but it didn't work out that way. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to take some time off. A lot of guys do shows and then they'll either Like if you're out of shape, then yeah, maybe you could have just done another show and it'll get in a little bit better shape and you can place better. Sometimes guys are completely shredded and they didn't do well. And then they think, well, if I just come back to the next show somehow even more shredded, that they're going to give it to them. And what it is you're just missing things structurally. It has nothing to do with condition. The judges are still going to look at the amount of muscle you have on whichever, body part that you're lagging in and say you need more of this. So instead of just doing that, doing show after show, I wanted to get back into the gym, put a little bit more muscle on my back and my chest, like we talked about before on the last episode that I was injured. So me just being able to just train, being able to play around with the heavy dumbbells now that we have. My goal is to get up to the 200s, which Cold Fitness has. I want to get it by the end of the year.
And we've got them in the back.
Oh, I saw for sure. Those are the practice ones. So that was just the plan, is to get back in, change structurally, kind of the foundation first. And then again, like we talked about last time, if people didn't watch, I just, for the first time in my life, did a show with a new coach before. I've only done, a lot of guys go coach to coach every show, never really letting the coach actually figure out their body, ultimately ruining their whole career because of that. Where me, I did the complete opposite. I stayed with somebody for way, way too long. And now that I've switched to a new person, I really enjoy that. So I'm excited to now do my job here in the gym, change my back, change my chest. And then now with this new coach, and now he has a second show to have kind of played with my body and learned it a little bit more. I think we should be able to kill this show and then qualify for the Olympia.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, I was going to ask you one thing about equipment. So somebody like yourself on the road that you're on, do you use any specialty pieces like we're talking about, or are you just sticking straight to heavy chest press, shoulder press, dumbbell work? Is it just pretty much the old school stuff that you focus on?
Yeah, it's weird you ask me that, because if you had asked me that, I don't know, maybe last year, I would have had a different answer. So when I was out in Dubai, those gyms have every machine that there is known to man. Every machine, and then the other company that's copied them. It's like so many that I got away from doing the things that every bodybuilder that used, looks the way. Like every bodybuilder that I want to look like, I wasn't doing any of the exercises they were doing. I didn't do one bent over dumbbell row, bent over barbell row. I stopped doing deadlifts. I stopped doing pull-ups. These are all the steak and potatoes of bodybuilding. But it was almost like I was in Toys R Us, and like, why am I going to play with some like little rag doll when I have all these toys? Yeah. But what you need to do is you need to do both. And so to answer your question, that's where I'm at now, is I'm trying to balance both, is where I'm still able to, because my favorite comment is people will comment and be like, your dad didn't need those machines. And it's like, yeah, my dad's elbows were destroyed. My dad's knees were completely gone. I never saw him sit on a floor in my life. So yes, he didn't need those, but I also am not trying to be paralyzed when I'm retiring. So I try and balance with the machines that are being made today that are really great with the free weights. So I implemented back in bent over dumbbell rows, bent over barbell rows. I'm doing pull-ups, so doing that. The problem is that when you're, let's say, traveling for the show itself, like you traveled for that show, by the time you land, there's nothing that you're going to do in the gym that's going to change the way you look. And that's probably the biggest tip that I could give to bodybuilders.
By the time you get there, you mean?
There's no way.
There's no time left.
There's nothing that you're going to change structurally.
Right.
You can keep blood in certain areas. You can keep a pump. You can keep burning calories. You can, do all the health stuff of going to the gym. But what you're going to look like, the cosmetics part of it, is not going to change. And so a lot of times when guys are behind, I've done it too. When you're behind on something, maybe this is a little bit smaller, you keep trying to train it a little bit more and more and more. And then sometimes you can actually end up doing some real serious damage. And now your whole show just went to shit because of this little quad that was maybe not as flaring as the other one. This arm wasn't whatever. So now the rule is for everyone is this: if you are landing in whatever state or country that you're competing in, it's just a maintenance work. People like to call it peak week or whatever little fancy name that they have for it. The point is it's almost like a don't F it up, just land the plane is what they try and call it. So what you're asking me in general, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to lift very heavy still while I can. While I have the carbs in me, I'm trying to go as heavy as I can. I'm implementing the free weights back into me. But when I fly to Italy, when I land, it'll be very pump style workouts, resting, trying to keep cortisol. And number two, I'm always giving my side of bodybuilding. Some guys have no cortisol problems at all. They go into shows. Sometimes I think the more cocky you are as a bodybuilder, the better you do. Because if you really do walk around like you are the shit, you're not worried about anything. Even if you do look like shit, you know, maybe you aren't even going to win.
Confidence is a big
sometimes
deal.
Ignorance is bliss. And when it comes down to when you're doing all that with the water manipulation, what you're doing to your hormones at the end, your cortisol is the make or break. And so for me, I'm super stressed out. All the pressure starts to set in. Everything that I did or messed up on, which I can't change for some reason now, is just killing me. So for the last decade, that's the thing that I'm trying to more focus on is my mental health when I land, not trying to go kill myself in the gym because I'm not going to make this quad that I think is small, which is really just in my head, probably, 9 out of 10 times, land, relax, work on my cortisol levels, and then try and peak for the show properly.
How many days do you usually have from the time you land to start to the competition? Couple, 2-3 days?
No, it depends on how far you are from your home. So if you're just like if I live here in Vegas and I'm going to compete in the Chicago Pro, I'll probably just go maybe 4 or 5 days early. But because I'm competing out of the country, there's my body adjusting to the flight, the time zone, and the food is different. I don't have to tell you the food is way better out of the country, but your body still has to have this reaction to it, whatever it's going to do water-wise, holding, and you have to let your body balance out for that. So I usually try and go more than a week. When I did Germany, I went 10 days. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think most people have any clue what it takes to be on that road.
But everyone's different too, For the most people, for the most part, what I'm giving my info on is the general person. But there are these cases where, like Dexter Jackson, who won the most bodybuilding shows of anyone, who's Mr. Olympia. There's this story where he missed his flight. He was stuck in an airport. He landed, went straight to the show, and he won. So sometimes there's these genetic marbles that are not affected. Their body doesn't hold water. To fly on a plane for more than 15 hours and your body doesn't have some kind of water retention, you almost are superhuman. So there's plenty of guys that I've seen do some wild things, and then it's like, well, if he did it, you can do it. And I want people to know that's like looking up things on WebMD, is this, you're dying, you have cancer. You can always find whatever answer you're looking for,
God, I almost want to stay off the web when I realize how many things that you hear that are not accurate around the clock.
Especially with workouts.
Oh, man. Well, listen, I'm glad that we could catch up and recap. We're going to have some fun stuff coming up in the future. You and I will definitely collab on a lot of equipment. Ideas, designs. Looking forward to that. And I'm glad that you're all over this. Boy, it just sounds like a lot of work and a lot of dedication, but I know how badly you want
but
it.
look who's talking about a lot of work and a lot of dedication. I'm proud of you that you even went on a little vacation, took a slight break. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I try.
I'm sure you were still working when you were.
Of course, I never stopped working. It's all about the people. I've got some good new people in place that are going to help me change the world. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in to episode 6 of American Barbell Unleashed. And it's always a pleasure to speak with Sergio. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, Instagram, like us, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.